Take us back 5 years. We're in the middle of a pandemic. The whole world stops.
Of course, the pandemic created a havoc in almost all passenger rail services across the country. So what we have been observing over the last 2-3 years is actually, in most cases, the ridership recovery is very encouraging.
Hey everyone, welcome to episode 2 of Inside Steer, Conversations with Experts. This is the series where we meet some of the people shaping Steer's work and leading through North America. I'm Herb Higginbotham, Executive President of Steer North America. If you don't know us, we're a global consultancy. We support public and private organizations that deliver the critical services and infrastructure that move our communities and help people work better. I'm coming to you live today from Los Angeles, California. And joining me today from Boston, Massachusetts is Masroor Hasan. He's a senior vice president in our rail and transit space. Hey, Masroor, how are you?
Hey, Herb, doing fine. Thank you. How about you?
Doing just great. It's beautiful today. I'm just kind of curious, as you sort of look at the industry in the space today, what's really keeping you up at night? What are really the types of problems your clients are thinking about trying to solve?
I mean, one of the big things is the funding issue. View of the funding scarcity or funding uncertainty from the federal government, which have been, of course, traditionally the main funder, and which will continue to be the main funder. But there will be a lot of P3, many more P3 arrangements that are currently being discussed, so that some of the
public-private partnerships.
The public-private partnerships, exactly. Some of those funding issues can be actually subverted in some ways. So that's something that's happening quite a bit. We have already seen more private sector involvement in some of those development. We see that in back in West, in California. We see that in Florida in terms of just developing new service. But in terms of operating, there is even more in terms of, who are the operators. More private sector operators are being involved in the U.S. in terms of operating the passenger rail service in the country.
Take us back 5 years. We're in the middle of a pandemic. The whole world stops as transportation starts to come back. And of course, everything's changing now with how we work, how we move. What are you seeing right now in terms of demand? What are you seeing right now in terms of how people are using systems?
So yes, absolutely. I mean, of course, the pandemic created a havoc in almost all passenger rail services across the country. Intercity passenger rail for Amtrak's ridership and also urban transit. Most probably the urban transit got even hit harder than intercity due to almost no commuting and things like that. So what we have been observing, over the last 2-3 years is actually, in most cases, the ridership recovery is very encouraging. For example, especially in intercity, Amtrak has recovered all its ridership and even more. So I think, they are experiencing record ridership and revenue. So that's very, very encouraging. Even many of the urban rail services have seen, quite a bit of recovery. For example, the MBTA, in Boston, where I'm based, it has actually shown very remarkable ridership recovery in its service. Having said that, some of those agencies have been more proactive and they have done more innovative, service changes and things like that. And MBTA being one of the prime example, they have tried to move away from a commuter rail system to a regional rail system. Instead of a peak day, one-directional heavy services, they have come to a conclusion and then they have actually implemented it of all day, both directional service, for example. So while the ridership has recovered a lot, in most cases almost completely, one very important thing that has been observed is actually the ridership pattern has changed. So that's, I think, is a very important aspect. We are seeing definitely much more all-day movement as opposed to just peak movements. Of course, a lot of things have happened in terms of work from home environment. Many of the workers are still working, not full-time, but some of their days working from home. So that has changed. And we have also seen quite a bit of increase in recreational leisure travel as opposed to really work travel. because many of our clients don't, even need to have us travel for meetings and things like that. So that kind of movement in the travel pattern has been quite dominant since the COVID recovery has taken place. So the ridership numbers have gone up in most cases. However, the composition of the riders have changed considerably. It's not the same riders who are traveling before pre-COVID as opposed, now in the post-COVID environment.
That's really interesting. Nearly every component of the ridership market in passenger rail changing at some degree. Who's riding, where they're riding, when they're riding, why they're riding. That's fascinating. What's sort of the advice and the partnership that we're able to bring, that your team's bringing, in order to sort of cut through that, right? How do you sort of plan for life when it starts over from scratch almost?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's things have changed quite a bit, as we just discussed. So I think one of the main aspect of our advice right now is we have to go to a more and more to a data-driven solution. Again, we were using data all the time before pandemic as well, but the need is even more to really look at the current data post-pandemic situation. Because if you look at, in the past, we're looking at, data from 3, 4, 5, 6 years ago, even in the past. But that doesn't work anymore, right? Because the post-pandemic situation has changed considerably. So from that perspective, we are definitely advising client, to the extent possible, to the extent budget is available, to go into collecting more and more data in the post-pandemic situation. Not only the ridership and revenue, of course, that is available, but in terms of their composition, as we just discussed, on their travel patterns, in terms of their travel choices. We make sure that our choice is based on most recent up-to-date data and local data as much as possible. So that is most probably the biggest suggestion that we are giving our client, that we are also trying to do more open source kind of work in terms of Python-based code programming and things like that, so the client can actually have it easy for them in terms of how to put it in their own organization, how to use it in the future. So those kind of modifications are also something that's going on. But I think the main focus is the post-COVID travel environment, as much as we can replicate that in our day-to-day work.
Did you start your career in Boston? Where did you?
Yeah, I came here 29 years ago now to do graduate studies, and there's a bit of story there. I was doing my PhD, passed my qualifier, and then I was completely burnt out with all the pressure of the qualifier examination and research and everything. So I wanted to take a break, and I went to my advisor and say, I need a break. And he said, fine, I can take a break for 2-3 years. So, I always wanted to do consulting just to take a look. And, and I went to join another firm and I liked it, and I never went back. So yes, it's been said, and never left Boston either. So yes, so 29 years in counting, 26 years in consulting and counting, so all in Boston.
As you look in the next 5 to 10 years, where do you really see the rail and transit industry heading here in North America?
I think there is a lot more focus on rail and transit than, let's say, when I started my career, when I came to the US. So, that is definitely very exciting in terms of more and more, as we discussed, private sector entities coming into the picture, more and more service to come into the picture, more improvements in passenger rail sector that we are seeing, new technologies are coming into picture. What we had been seeing in Europe all along, which is still in Europe, again, we are not there yet, no question. But there are some very positive signs that, we are on our way, hopefully, to those kind of services that we see. Again, we always know, US is a much bigger country, so it's we have to be very careful about where those investments take place, where actually, as we just discussed, whether there's a business case or not for those. But it is actually moving in the right direction with, of course, the funding issues and the current funding issues notwithstanding. I think we'll overcome these situations as you said, 5, 10, 15 years from now. I mean, hopefully we'll have a passenger rail system to be really proud of. Again, when I say system, I mean, of course, it will be mostly focused on regionally. Most probably, given the countryside, it will not be a nationwide system, especially when we talk about intercity or regional rail. Other thing I'm really excited about, is just, on a personal level. I mean, the colleagues I work with, that actually really motivates me to come to work every day. I mean, I love working with the people that I do, and I've been with Steer for 17 years now. So that is another, on a personal aspect, that something is very exciting. And I think, this kind of current hiccups in terms of fundings or current constraints that we're seeing, these are cyclical. I think it will change. And people are already seeing the benefit of passenger rail. I mean, I'm talking about just the passenger industry because that's where I operate. And I really feel, I'm very confident that these constraints, these hurdles will be overcome. And, if we look at the intermediate to long-term future of the industry, I think, I'm very hopeful, about this.
Nice. Well, Masroor, I'm excited and hopeful for that future too. I would love nothing more than to be riding more trains as I dash around North America. I thank you for joining us today, sharing a little bit about yourself and where you see the industry going. And thanks everyone who was able to listen or watch episode 2 of Inside Steer, Conversations with Experts. This is Masroor Hasan and Herb Higginbotham signing off. Take care.
Thank you all. Thank you, Herb.